out. And when I first started, same thing. I did that one time, and it was like the whole video. And Escher painted. Okay. So any questions from homework? Was that with what? Okay. Because we haven't lectured on that one yet. So I got you. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So remember the homework. You can always get a little ahead. You don't have to start any homework if I haven't lectured over it yet, but you certainly can get ahead if you want to. We've only made it up through halfway through 1.7 because you just barely talked a little bit about order operations, and that's part of section 1.7. So if you have questions on 1.8, let me just ask you to hold off on those, and we'll lecture over it tonight, and then we'll do questions right then. So any questions? Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, on here it says on page 71 it says simplify. Does that mean you just want me to rewrite the equation there?
Where are we at? Sorry.
Like number 45.
Page 71.
On 1.7.
Oh yeah, simplified. When you say when the instructions say simplify, that means carry out all the operations. So if I gave you this problem and I said simplify, and you said that's 3 cubed,
That's pretty simple.
that's not right. And that's why it was so simple. But that would be the instructions have to say rewrite this in exponential notation, right?
All right.
But if the instructions say simplify, that means do the multiplication. Exponents just keep track of how many multiplications I have to do. So you haven't simplified it, you just kind of rewrote it. So I want you to actually do the multiplication.
That'd be 47.
I love it. So 3 times 3 times 3. That would be simplified. You with me? This would have to be very specific instructions. It would have to say rewrite using exponential notation. That's like the first few.
I'll draw a square on my answers and the real answers, and how's that?
Yeah, make your answers easy to find. That's a good idea. Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Number 57.
1.7?
Yeah.
And that's going to be an order operations problem. So let's hold off on that for a second. We just barely got into it. Let me see. I don't know if I want to jump right into that. Oh, actually, what the hell? Let's do that. Let's take a look at that problem. Somebody help me out. What are the order of operations?
Parentheses, exponents,
Parentheses.
multiplication, division, subtraction.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
What parentheses mean?
I love it. It's a really good question. Parentheses means anything inside the parentheses. You with me? So, for example, this level here would mean if I had... let's do some more. 6 times 4 times 3. So if I had that problem there, this is something times 3. Now, I don't want to do 6 minus 12. That's not right. If I look at my order operations, it says do inside the parentheses first. So, of course, inside there becomes what?
2.
2. 6 minus 4 is 2. So, really, this times 3 is the same thing as 2 times 3. And then you do the multiplication. So, I did parentheses. There were no exponents. And then I did multiplication division as it came, and I only saw a multiply. So I just kind of followed the order operations. All right, so I did in there first, and then the only thing I have left is multiply. Done. So that's really what parentheses means. Is it anything inside the parentheses that I can do?
So wait, so 2.3, wait,
Oh, so that's not a point.
is it,
What does that dot mean?
but,
Multiply. I like it.
but,
So I don't want to use this symbol for multiply anymore, because now that symbol is going to mean variable. It's going to mean x variable.
dot,
So the way we used to write it would be like 2 times 4
time,
is 8. Now I can write 2 times 4 is 8.
That dot means it's just.
Yeah, so that dot is a new symbol. It just means multiply. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, page 72,
questions, survey?
Oh yeah, I'm working my way up to that.
Yeah.
You're awesome. Let me write that here, and then we're going to do that in a second. Because that's got a lot of stuff going on, right? So it's like, okay, problem, pick something. You got way too many things happening. Okay, that's not too bad. Well, real quick, before I do that, let me show you. There's one problem here. Now, how is this different if I write the same exact numbers, but I write it like that? Yeah, what are the only operations I have up here?
Multiplication.
I have multiplication and subtraction, and which one definitely comes first?
Multiplication.
Multiplication. I like it, because it says 6 minus something. I don't know what I'm subtracting from 6 yet, because I got to put those. Put those together. So this is 6 minus 12, and there's that idea of rewrite everything else except for one thing. Replace that one thing with what it's better known as. A more concise way to say it. So it's still 6 minus something. I just know what the something is now. And 6 minus 12 at this week we haven't talked about sign numbers directly yet, but
Minus 12. Minus 6.
I like it, because if I had $6 and I owe somebody $12, I could pay them off, but how much money am I still going to owe them? $6. I'm going to owe them $6 still. So we'll talk more about sign numbers here in chapter 2. Yeah.
Wait, that should be 12, right?
Which part?
Like 12, 6 minus 12 is 12, right?
No. If you take 12 away from 6, and another good way to think of it is, here's 6. If I take 12 away, that means I'm going 12 down. So where do I end up if I go 12 down?
0.
-1. If I go 6 down, I go to 0, right?
Yeah.
You with me? So if I'm up here at 6 and then go 6 down, that's 0, I have to go another 6 down because I got to go 12 down total.
Okay, it's minus 6.
Gets me down to -6. I like it.
Because it's like, I thought it goes like 6 minus 12, like.
They don't turn around. Yeah, they
Yeah.
can't replace each other. Well, I didn't make that happen on purpose, but we'll talk more about sign numbers in chapter 2. So now, let's look at number 57. This is a bit of a leap from where we are here. For 57, the key on any math problem, the reason some people are better at math than other people, one big key part of it is some people just naturally look at things and break it up into parts, and some people don't. And math almost requires you to be able to look at something's parts. So when I first look at that problem, I don't care about this crap at all. Because the order of operations tells me what's the first thing I worry about. In the parentheses, exactly. So the other stuff is just going to come down for the ride. No, Jeff. That stuff just comes to the ride. I don't have to worry about that stuff yet. Because the very first thing I have to worry about is inside here. Now, inside here, what would I do first?
5 to the second power.
I love it, because what are the operations inside here?
Exponent.
Addition, exponents. Exponents definitely comes before addition. So this is 7 plus something. And of course, that something, what's 5 squared? I like it, because it's 5 times 5, 25. Let me stop right there for a second. How are we doing so far? Is that all right? So I did one thing. And some of you guys understand this a little better. You can do several things at once. Cool. Feel free. But if you're not comfortable with this, do not do more than one thing. And then everything else just comes for the ride. The people that make a mistake are the ones that do all the side work, and then they're trying to figure out where did things go and where did it come from, and that's...
Can you explain the PEMDAS again from the beginning? Top.
Oh, so it's parentheses,
Okay.
exponents, so powers, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction.
Okay.
And the reason I write it like this is that's definitely always first. That's definitely always next, if it's there. And then either one of these, as they come, you don't multiply first, you don't divide first, you do it as it comes. And then either one of these as it comes. You don't add first, you don't subtract first. You do it as you see it, as it comes. So they don't have higher order than the other. They're actually on the same level. But so many people write that PEMDAS straight across, and people see the M before the D, and they think multiplication's first, which is not right. So coming back to this, what do I still have to do? So I did the exponents there. Now I have to do inside the parentheses, not finished in there. What's 7 plus 25? 32. Now here's where people make a mistake. Now this is not a mistake yet. What's the next thing I should do? What's the operations I have? I have exponents, multiplication, division, so I definitely do exponents next, right? That's the highest level. So everything else stays the same. I don't really need those parentheses. You can keep them if you like them. What is 2 cubed? Cubed. It's 2 times 2 times 2? 8. So let me make sure I'm not going too fast with that. Exponents always just tell you how many of that thing you have multiplied. So when I see 2 to the third power, that's not 6, that's not 23, right? Gonna freak Jim Carrey out. That, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, because it says 3 2s. That was nice. 3 2s multiplying, so then you get 8. So that I put right here. 2 cubed, I can replace that with 8, because that's what it is. Now the biggest mistake I saw so far in the homework is the next step. Somebody says that's 32 divided by 32, and that's 1, and that's completely wrong. What is 32 being divided by?
4.
So it is not fair to, on the next step, say, well, now it's being divided by 32. Nah. It's not fair. I can just look at it and say it's being divided by 4. It's not being divided by 32. But if you multiply 4 and 8 first, now suddenly 32 is being divided by 32. This is what I mean by these are on the same level. You do them as they come. Neither one has precedence. Just because division is first, I'm going to do it first. What's 32 divided by 4? 8. And I still have times 8. So I replace this with what it is. And now what's 8 times 8? 64. Cool. So there's a freebie homework problem. The more comfortable you are, the less steps you can show, but the less comfortable you are, you want to do one thing at a time and then reevaluate one thing. Reevaluate one thing. What's up?
Okay, do it over again. I'm sorry.
Which part?
The R of it. It's like, okay, 7 plus 25 is
It's
32.
here?
32.
Good. And
Now-
see, this is still here.
Now, 4 times 2 is 8, right?
Careful. Do you multiply first, or do you do the exponents
You
first?
do the exponent.
That's why we did this.
That'd be 8.
So this is 4 times this, which is 8. So I just replaced that with 8.
So that's 32, and then that's 32
Divided by 4.
is 8,
And then the times 8 is still there.
54.
So you just keep replacing something with a better thing, and then everything else comes for the ride. And then you look at it again, like it's a whole new problem. That's a whole new problem. You do that. Now that's a whole new problem. You do that. That's the way to kind of look at that best. Keep it all organized. I don't want the mistake to be you left somebody out because you're not being organized. Yeah.
Okay, so once you get past the parentheses, you get past the exponents, then you work the problem from left to right, and according to what comes first, division or multiplication? All right.
Just because the only operations I have on that second to last of this step here, the only operations I have are these two. So I just start working left to right. That's the only time you can just do that.
Okay.
So if I had only addition and subtraction, I just start doing left to right, just go, bam, bam, bam.
Okay.
Right?
And so now you subtracted, you divided 4 and 32, you got 8.
That's right.
And then now you,
And I still have that times 8 hanging out there.
so that's, the 2 8s, you say that's multiplication at the bottom?
Oh yeah, that from the very beginning, that dot means multiply.
Oh.
I like it. All right, let's do several more. Because this, this is almost like learning the grammar of a foreign language, and that's really what it is. I mean, order operations is the correct way to read a mathematical statement. Like commas. Have you ever heard of, there's a book called Eats, Shoots, and Leaves. And it's supposed to be about, some of you guys are going to tune me out, but it's too bad. It's supposed to be about a panda bear. It comes in, it eats, shoots, and leaves. But if you put commas in there, it eats, it shoots, and it leaves. All right. So, obviously, if you take it in English, you know the comma placement is stupid important because it can totally change the meaning of your whole thing. So in math, parenthesis placement, just like comma placement, very important because it can totally change the meaning of your mathematical sentence. So this is why order operations, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is why it's difficult, is because it is mathematical grammar. And grammar is not easy when you're first learning. Right? Yes, sir.
I have a question. Okay, on question number 57, in the first parenthesis, 7 plus 5, 2. Now that was, I always thought that was like 5 times 2, but it's actually 5 times 5. Now, how about if that was a 5 with a 3 above it? Would that be 5 times 3?
No. So
5 times 5 times 5.
So to get, now listen, here.
So it'd be 25 times 5.
Exactly. If I had 5 to third. 5 times 2 already has its own symbol. In fact, it has several symbols. All of these at some point means 5 times 2. Are you with me? So it's kind of like, why would I need a whole other way to write 5 times 2? That must mean something else. And an exponent, and again, let me say this again, because this always freaks people out. In every one of these, there's a 2. You with me? In this statement here, there is not a 2. I don't see a 2. I don't. This 2 means I have 2 5s that are in a row that are multiplying. That's all that 2 means. An exponent keeps track of how many of these I have. So that's why this is going to be 5 times 5. So what would 5 to the third power be? 5 times 5. There's 5. Good. 125. If you do all the multiplying.
What?
Which part? Sorry. So exponents, numbers that are up here, tell me the number that's up here tells me how many of this I have multiplied. So there's a 2 there, right?
It's 10.
No. It's not 5 times 2. It's 5 to the second power.
Okay.
So what that means, when it's not written like this, when the 2 is actually up here, that must be something different. And it is. We know that that means this tells me there's 2 5s that are multiplying. This tells me there's 3 5s that are multiplying. And you get 5 times 5 is 25. And you multiply by another 5, you get 125. And when you do the multiplication. So if the trouble you're having is just that, you multiply those 25.
Okay, and then
Still times 5?
Do you have 25? Wait.
So it's all multiplication.
So that's 120.
Yeah, so if you do this multiplication, 10,
okay. It's
you get
125.
Cool. I like it. So, and really the whole reason we created exponents in the first place is because, if I had to write 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times 8, just doing this one time sucks, right? It was really exciting watching me doing it. So if I had to do that a lot of times in a paper, I'd be very motivated to come up with a new way to do it. So I just go, what's really important here is the fact that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them. So if I could just get people to agree with me, when you see me write that, I mean 10 8s multiplied. It's just a way to write it more concisely.
Does that make it 800?
Careful. It's not 8 times 100. This would be 8 times 8. 64 times 64 times 64, times 64 times 64, and then you got to do those multiplications. You with me? It's going to be some big ass number, right?
Because I thought it's like 8 times 10 because it's the...
No. 8 times 10 already has its own way of being represented like that, or like that, or like that. If you go back in time, right? So these 3 things mean multiply. This means repeated multiplication of that. That's something different. That's its own thing. That's why it's got its own place in order operations.
And that's why they made it EMDAS.
Yes, the grammar just works better that way. Who am I? Yeah, you've been.
4 multiply 8, 32. 32 divide 32, 1. For that question.
Say again?
4 multiply 8.
Oh, I see. Hold on. Let me come there. What's another way? What's another way to write? Hold on. Let me just look at one piece of it, because it's a really good question. What's another way to write that?
32 divided by 30.
And that's what I wrote. But another way to write that is like this, right? Now, if I have this, what's underneath the 32?
1.
4.
The 4. Just like you just told me, this piece can be written like that. You with me? So this, I could rewrite this as 32 divided by 4. Are you with me so far? Because that's how I can rewrite a division sign. Times 8. So if you do 32 divided by 32, somehow you put that 8 down there. That's not fair. The only way you could legally do that is if you had the problem said this. Because then what do you have to do first here? You have to do the parentheses first. So that would become 32. Otherwise, it's no fair to divide by both of these because 32 is only being divided by 4. And then it's being multiplied by 8. That should make it become bigger, not make it become smaller. Right? So here you would get 32 divided by 4 is 8. And you still have times 8. There's the 64 there. Yeah, not going to
And just real quick now, okay, say for instance on the 32 divided by 4 times 8. Now if that division sign was there and the 32 was just right next to that, would that be 32 times whatever in that parenthesis?
Here?
Yeah.
Okay,
Say
so
that-
if it wasn't this,
Yeah,
but
that
it was,
division sign wasn't there and it was just 32. Yeah, would that be 32 times?
I love it. Whenever you have something sitting right next to something else, that means multiply. Because if I meant addition, I should have put a plus there. If I meant subtraction, I should have put a minus there. If I meant division, I should have put that underneath, or a division symbol. So what's the only thing left? Multiplication. And the reason we do that is, at least one operation should be really quick to write. And then all the other ones have to have their symbols. So we said, if you see me write this, variables are in their very near future.
3 times.
That means 3 times something. I just don't know what that something is. Yes, sir.
On 57, you see where you got the 7.5 to the 5 to the second power?
Oh, you hear 7 plus 5 squared?
That's
Yes.
your exponents, and then the next one is add subtract with a 7.7 plus 25, right?
The only reason I added before I did any of this other stuff is because the parentheses are there.
Okay.
So the parentheses always, whatever's inside parentheses, automatically gets done first. It's like it makes everything kind of go to the top, right? Normally I would do addition at the end. But since it's in parentheses, I've got to do it first. So when I see something like this here, what I see is a number minus a number, because those parentheses tell me that's one thing minus something else, one other thing. Those parentheses tell me I really have one thing. I just got to figure out what that one thing is. So then I could do, now, what would I do last in this problem? Subtraction, because everything else is inside parentheses. They automatically are done first. So here I get 8.
6,
Good. Minus 6. 2. I like it.
How about if you have a big bold italic, the big bold parentheses, then the parentheses inside, like on
I got
question 72.
I got you. Hold on. Yeah.
I just have a quick question. Can you explain briefly exponent of 0? 1 to the power of 0.
Do they have that in there? Or are you asking me just in general?
Yes, in general, yeah.
All right, so that comes later.
Okay.
When we talk about the properties of exponents.
Okay.
Right now, it'd be very difficult to talk about it because I I can't explain it fully until I tell you some other stuff, and it's too early for that.
Okay.
It's a little freaky right now. You're like, what the hell is that? Yeah.
If we change like the operations, like if we have like 32 multiplying 4 divided to 8, so we will do
Like that? I like it.
Yeah.
Good question. You would still do this first. Because again, what's the only operations in there? Multiplication division. And what do you do when you see multiplication division? You do it as it comes. Period. Right? So here you do 32 times 4. And then divide that by 8.
Or 4.32 divided by, let's do 8.
So you have to, do this first. Right?
No, you switch them around, make 4.32, put 8, still 8.
You could, but you still have to multiply these two. Right? This means multiplication, so I still have to multiply 32 times 4. Right? So I have to do 32 times 4. So get that 128. And then I divide it by 8. Cool. Yeah.
You see on that third line where you got the 32 in parentheses? Could that be 64 right there? 32 divided by 4 is 8, and then 2 to the third power is another 8, 64.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you need that fourth line?
I will always show you, or I'll try to always show you, every single step, so don't skip any steps. On your work, if you understand things a little better, or you've done enough of it, you can certainly do several things at once. The minute I start skipping any steps, somebody's not going to see that same skip, and they're not going to know what the hell just happened, right? So I try to be as transparent as I can be, so that, like I said earlier, the more comfortable you are, you can have less steps. Please don't have one step. That's not good, because then I'm worried about where the answer's coming from. Show me something. Always try to show me something. Okay. Anything else before I keep going with this order operation stuff? Because I still got to get to the question about the freaky parentheses. You guys know what Russian dolls are?
Matroskas.
Okay. I guess you definitely know. So they're the ones, you got a big one, you open it up, and there's a tinier one, you open it up, there's a tinier one, you open it up, there's a tinier one, you're like, when is this going to stop? Nested parentheses. Oh yeah, you got to like that. They're kind of the same way. You kind of work from the inside out. So if I said, let me just build my way up to that. If I said 7 minus 2 plus 3. So that's really the difference between two things. 7 and whatever the hell 2 plus 3 is.
6 minus
7
minus 1.
Yeah, so I get 7 minus 5. Because order operation says in the parentheses before I do anything else, right? And that's, of course, 2. Now, so that's first. So I'm going to build my Russian dolls out. So what if I wanted to do 8 minus this? And you can imagine a problem where there's like multiple parentheses, oh God, you don't want this problem to come up anytime soon. And then you're like, well, which parenthesis goes, holy shit. So,
Don't they have a bracket?
yeah, exactly. That's exactly, I try to get the feeling that somebody had, and then I said, screw this, let's just use a different symbol. So if I want to do 8 minus this, I could use this symbol because I've already got parentheses in there. This symbol, I really want you guys to understand, that symbol is still a parenthesis. It is still a parenthesis. We just made it look a little different, so it's easier to see who goes with what. Right, if I got multiple parentheses around, and you're like, this parenthesis goes with, screw that. I want to make them look different so they're easy to tell. If I had to go another level out, let's try this problem first. What do I do first?
2 plus 3.
And that was the innermost parenthesis, right? When you look at this problem, you say, I'm going to do that last. I got to do in here. And in here, I got to do in here first. So you always go to the innermost, the little tiny doll on the inside. So you got everything else comes from the right. 8 minus, bracket, 7 minus, and then 2 plus 3, 5.
minus
8 minus
2.
2. I like it. You really don't need the brackets there because they only signify do the stuff inside, and once they get a 2, there's nothing left to do inside. But it doesn't really change. What's 8 minus 2? 6. I like it. So you see how that is this problem. And we did that problem. See how we did that problem again? We did all the steps there. And then we just added one more step at the end. So now maybe it's a little easier to take the next step, which would be, what if I wanted to do, what you got, Jeff? I want to do 3 times this.
Uh-oh.
So then I use this symbol here. Now I'm doing this. Oh, I even need one more. There. Oh yeah. You gotta love it. You guys ever seen that symbol before? The squiggly. It's normally used for like a set. We'll come up to that later. Right now, I got to realize is it still is a parenthesis. That's all it is. It just made it look a little different so you can keep track of who goes with who. So in here, I've got to do that first. In here, I've got to do this first. In there, I've got to do, so again, I just go to the innermost parenthesis and then work my way out. The very last thing I'm going to do, of course,
Multiply.
is the 3. It's 3 times who knows. So of course, I'm going to do in here, I'm going to do this work here, right? Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
That's the same exact problem as this. I'm going to get 3 times 8 minus 7 minus 5. Right? There? And 3 times 8 minus 2, and then 3 times, let me keep this the same, 6. 3 times 6? 18. How do I know that's multiply?
Because they're right next to each other.
Because right next to each other, there's no plus in the middle, there's no minus in the middle, there's no divided in the middle, so it must be the only one left. It must be multiplication. 18. So when you see a problem like that, you see now how I'm getting to this huge problem. The people who are naturally good at math are just lucky enough to naturally break it down. I don't care about that or that or that. All I care about at first is that. So you just make your problem into small, easy problems, and then the whole thing becomes a lot easier to handle.
So that new weird, whatever that mark you call it,
Curly brace.
that, yeah. If there's an addition sign between the 3 and that would mean it's addition,
Good.
not multiplication.
Exactly. I love it. So if my problem would have been, three plus squiggly 8 minus bracket 7 minus parenthesis 2 plus 3 parenthesis bracket squiggly.
Sorry, I brought it up.
No, it's all right. I just wrote the same damn thing. Just put a plus in there, right? Just put a plus. You with me? So that's a good question. I would still do all the work in here. What would I get inside here? I'd still get 6. Because it's the same exact problem. You with me? So I'd still get 3 plus 6. So instead of doing 3 times 6 and getting 18, now I get 9. That's all.
So your parentheses always to the far right when you set them up that way?
Say again? Sorry?
You know, like when the 2.3, is it always going to be to the far right?
Not necessarily, just happened to be there. I could have put that first.
Now what if it's to the left? Do you start there to the left first?
Oh yeah, the only reason I started where I did is because that's where all my parentheses were. I mean, so I could have a problem like this. Let me see if I know what you're talking about. What you got, Jeff?
You could just do the same, just put another 2.3 after the 8 minus.
Like that? So now everything's kind of like over there.
If you had 2 parentheses at one time, which one do you start to the left or the right first?
Yeah, that. If it was 7 minus, or
Oh,
if it was
oh.
2 plus 3 in a parentheses, 2 of them.
Like that?
Yeah.
Is that right?
So which one would work first?
Here's the cool thing. You could do both at the same time. Because if I had several exponents throughout the whole problem, I could do all of them first. Because then the exponents are the next thing to do. You with me? So here, what would I do first here?
7 minus
Seven.
5.
7 minus 5. So I can do 4 is still there. 7 minus 5 becomes 2. The minus 3 is still there. Minus twice, what's 7 plus 4?
11.
Do you see that? Do you see that? Because they're both on the same level. They're both parentheses. They both get precedence. Yeah.
So that'd be 11. That'd be 11 minus 4, and then that'd be 2. That'd be.
Careful now. Where did 11 come from?
Right there. Look, right there. 11. 11. Then minus 6 is 5. Right.
So
11.
this 11's got to stay right there, right? So when I'm looking inside here, when I look inside those,
12.
what do I do inside here? What does this say?
8.
Yeah, this is 4 times 2 minus 3. So what comes first, subtraction or multiplication?
5.
What comes first? Subtraction or multiplication? Yeah, multiplication. So what's 4 times 2? 8. So now I'm catching up to you. That's why I just said 5, because 8 minus 3 is 5. So now what do I do over here?
22.
Good.
Multiply.
And again, I came up with a problem that has negative. Sorry. 5 minus 22. Now let me stop right there. Let me let you guys kind of catch up with me. I knew from the very beginning that the last operation I was going to do was the subtraction. Because this is parentheses. This is parentheses with a multiplication, right? So I know the last thing I'm going to do is subtract. I got something minus something. So I got to figure out what those somethings are before I can actually subtract them now. That's the right way to look at this. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you this one thing. Do you see how that 5 is positive? Mm-hmm. Do you see how that 22 really is negative? It's a 5 and then minus 22. Are you with me? When they're different signs, you subtract them and put the sign of the bigger one on. So what's 22 minus 5?
Minus 17.
This is 17, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which number is bigger?
22.
And it's
Negative.
so it's negative 17. So that rule will get you through those kind of problems. Yeah.
Don't get it.
We're going to focus on that kind of problem in chapter 2. I'm just doing a little preview.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
But that's the same thing as earlier. Remember when you're up here at 5? And you got to go down 22?
Be like 17.
You get down to negative 17. Because that's why the answer is negative 17. Cool. Okay. Yeah.
On the same problem up top, if you had in parentheses after the 3, the 7 minus 5, would you just work from left to right? Or would that ever happen?
Where are we at? Sorry?
Up top, where the 3 is? Mm-hmm. If you had the same problem, the 7 minus 5 in parentheses, repeated after that,
Oh. Okay.
would that happen, or would you just work from left to right? Just
That
like you
certainly could
normally
happen. So if your problem started off like this instead. Oops. Like that?
Yeah.
And then you had minus 2 times 7 plus 4. Alright, now we're getting into... Now the only reason that problem is something I call evil is just because it looks difficult. In reality, it's a whole bunch of really easy problems. It's just there's a lot of them. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying. There's a lot of work I have to do here relative to the first kind of problems we were doing. But each of those problems are easy. So what do you focus on first?
Parentheses.
Yeah, the innermost parentheses and then this guy, right? Those are the parentheses that are kind of there by themselves. They can be done first. They're all on the same level of the order operations. So I can rewrite the 4 is still there. That's 2. Minus 3, that's 2. Minus 2, that's 11. So all I did was 7 minus 5 is 2. So why not write 2 there? 7 minus 5 is 2. Let me write 2 there. 7 plus 4 is 11. Let me write 11 there. Right? So it's sort of like giving each other a nickname. I don't want to call you Thomas Johnson Reginald III. I'm going to call you Tommy Boy. Or whatever. You with me? So this is the full name, and let me give it a nickname. It's a little easier to look at. And then, what can I do next? Good. Multiplication now. Can all those multiplications there? So this is 8 minus 6 minus 22. Good. So you still have to do inside here. So it's 2 minus 22. Negative 20. I love it. If I have $2 and I owe you 22, you met $2. I still owe you $20. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I don't understand. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I still.
Which part? So from the very beginning,
All of it.
when you see a problem, let's do this. Let's start with a fresh one. Let's do another one. Let's get away from this one. Let's get away from this one.
My head is like a tornado.
I understand. I keep Tylenol in business. Let's do another problem, and let's really focus on what is it that you look for to tell you what to do, right? So if I had this problem here. All right, I like it.
Okay, do the 4.5 and 20. And the 7.3.
So what will always save you is order operations. So you always look to see, is there anything I can do inside any parentheses? That's where you always start.
7.3 is 10.
Careful. Now you say, remember, any time you're looking at any problem, I don't care where it is, you have to follow this. So what operations are inside here? What operations are inside?
Plus.
Addition?
Subtract.
Exponent.
Exponent.
Right? So what do you do first? Addition or exponents?
Exponents. 3x.
So 3 squared is 3 times 3.
It's 9.
9. Careful, not 3 times 3 times 3. Not 3 of them, just 2 of them.
9.
Got you. So 3 squared, 9. So see, the only thing I did was I replaced 3 squared with 9. Because that's what it is. Am I done in the parentheses yet?
Yes.
You sure?
No.
Can I do something in there?
Yeah.
Good. So you're not off of this step until you've done everything you can in the parentheses. So the 2 is still there. See how this has been there from the beginning? This has been there from the beginning. What's 7 plus 9? 16. So I did my parentheses first. That's what that means. Completely do your parentheses stuff first. There's nothing left inside I can do. It's just 16. So then I see, okay, what else? Do I have any more exponents?
Yeah. No.
No, I don't have any more powers anywhere, right? Nothing's to a power. Do I have any multiplication division?
No. Yes.
I have a subtraction, and I have a division and a multiplication.
Okay, 4.5.
Careful. You don't multiply before divide. You do them as they come. So what do I mean by that? You do them as you read. What's 16 divided by 4?
4.
So this is 4. And the times 5 is still there.
20.
Good. So this is 20.
So minus 2.
So what's 2 minus 20?
18 minus 18.
Negative 18. I love it.
So when you got 16, right? So addition was above that. So
Good.
it's automatically subtraction after?
No. I'm not. How do you mean?
So you got the 16.
Good. Because it said 7 plus 9 there. So
Yeah,
that's
you got
16.
the 16 there. So you divided the 2 into the 16 on the next.
Yeah. When I see subtraction, that's definitely last. And I see division and multiplication. I do those as it comes. So as I read this, I would say 16 divided by 4 is 4. Times 5 is 20. I would not do 16 divided by 20, thank God, because I can't do 16 divided by 20.
You did nothing at all with the 2.
The 2 is at the very end, and why do I know? At the very beginning, I know that 2 is going to be last. Because subtraction is at the bottom. Everything else is going to be first. Because they're all parentheses and division and multiplication. Subtraction is going to be at the very last step. So it's 2 minus something. All this work is just figuring out what the hell that something is. And I can finally do 2 minus 20. because I know that something is 20. How we doing?
Could you do that one last step where you go to 2 minus 4 times 5?
So the 16 divided by 4
Yes.
is 4, and I still have to multiply by 5. That's still there.
Oh, okay.
So all I'm really doing is replacing this with 4, so everything else is still exactly where it was. I've just replaced that piece with what it is. Cool. And that's key. That's going to help you get through solving equations. The people that are able to keep things there and you just replace some things, you're going to be the ones that do better. So if you're naturally disorganized, that's a big thing to work on. And I am not the neatest person in the world, but I do try to keep track of what the hell things are as I go down through this. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's see something. Let's do this. Let me throw a little wrinkle in the mix here. Oh yeah. There's always another level. A whole another level. So let's start off just a little bit easier. Oh, let's not make this crazy. Okay. What's the very last thing I'm going to do here? Dividing, right? Because if I wrote this out in a row, would it look like this? What's wrong with that?
It's not 7 divided by 3.
Yeah, it's not 7 divided by 3. It's 2 and 7 divided by 3. So if I wanted to write it out straight, I'd have to put parentheses in there to make sure. Why do I not need parentheses here now? Because it's obviously together on the top. So when I write the division bar like that, everything up here is grouped together already. If I write it out in a line, I've got to group it with parentheses. So how do you do this kind of problem? We just do the top. Yes, sir?
That'd be a 9 and there'd be a 3. It'd be 3 there.
Kick ass. Right? Now, of course, the minute you understand that idea, you're just going to load more crap on the top and the bottom. You with me? It's just that you do the top, you do the bottom, and the very last thing you do is divide the numbers you get at the end. So if I had a problem like this, what do you guys have? What's up?
It's funny. It's funny.
All right. Is it funny because I just kept going? It's like, what? Please stop.
Because you think about it, you think it as a map. It's like, oh, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this.
Exactly. And what I'm trying to do is make it come out not disgusting yet, because we haven't talked about fractions yet, so I don't want to come up with something weird. You should be able to do some fraction stuff, but I'm not going to make you do it yet. I'm trying to make it come out nice. That's what I'm trying to do. So I'm trying to look ahead to what it's going to be. So the whole thing here is you treat the top and the bottom as 2 separate problems. And you know that math people love to do this. And you know they love to find a way to make one problem become 7. So what can I do on the top?
16.
Good. Exponents. But really, what should I do here?
4 minus 2.
Yeah, so I could do 2 things at once. So the more comfortable you feel, I definitely have to do that first, but then the very next thing I could do would be this. So the more comfortable you are, you can start to do several things at once. The less comfortable you are, don't do that. Let's see if we can do a little bit on the bottom at the same time.
9 minus 5.
Good. You have to square before you subtract, so it's 9 minus 5.
4.
So on the bottom I get 4, on the top I get
12.
Do I get 28?
No.
If you saw 28, do you know where that would come from? What did that person do?
Multiplying 16
They did
by 2. 16
16 minus 2 is
14.
times 2 is 28. But that's not right? What mistake did I make? Well, not really parentheses. I'm glad you said that. This is not parentheses because there's nothing to do inside. What it really represents is multiplication. So be real careful. Parentheses means, the P means stuff inside parentheses. Parentheses themselves represent possibly multiplication between 2 things. right? If they're sitting next to each other. So this would be 16 minus 4, which is 12 over 4, 3. Cool. If I get too far over that way, I'm standing in people's way. I try to. Long rooms are stuck like that. Okay. So finally, my God, let me do this before I go any further. I want you guys to. Don't even tell me I didn't bring him now. That'd be funny. Oh, thank you. Right. If you really, really, really don't want to work with anybody, you can be a group of one. That's fine, an army of one. But I really want you guys to kind of group up. And I'm not going to make you do a ton of these, but I want you guys to work on some of these. And I'm going to be roaming around. You can call me over if you need some help. So this is, if you have the book, this is actually, I think, for the chapter test, which is on page 90. Let me make sure that's, yeah. It's not a test. It's called a chapter test, just the review in the book. Don't freak out. Page 93 in the book. So if you have your book, it's page 93. If you need a copy of it, let me know. Who needs a copy?
You all 23?
Oh. No, hold on. Let me figure out what I want you to do. Same. Page 93, same stuff. Okay, looks fine. Oh, you want to get this one? Everybody okay? Oh. Are we good? Oh, you got it in the book there. Page 93. Same? Alright, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to do, let's just do 2 through 18, the even ones. 2 through 18, even. Make sure, even if you work in groups, write your own paper. You're going to turn that in. Every person has to turn something in, not every group. Oh, yeah, I did. Damn. Yeah.